Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all of you. So for today's lab, we will continue with implementing static and dynamic NUT for the lab 7. So this is topology for today's lab. So this is the continuity from the previous lab, but what I want you to do is you take the DHCP packet tracer and rename it into NAT Lab 7. Do not use the packet tracer for the lab 6 ACL. So in this lab, first of all, we need to understand what we are going to do for the NAT implementation. So for the NAT implementation, what you have to do is first you need to do three types of NAT, which is static, dynamic NUT, and also part. So for the dynamic NUT, so we will try to translate the IP address from network 192.168.1.0 using dynamic NUT, and then we also will translate the server 192.168.1.142 into static NUT, and finally we will implement, so this one is static, this one is dynamic, and this one we will use port address translation, which translate network 172.16.1.0 into port address translation. So the first part of the lab is, first we need to understand the IPv4 addressing table. So previously in the DHCP lab, the CIDR for S00 is CIDR 30. So here you have to change it into CIDR 28 because you need to give a number of public IP address for the dynamic NUT. So in the dynamic NUT, we will use the IP address, public IP address of 200.200.200.5 until 200.200.200.8. So because of this, we cannot use subnet mask CIDR 30 because under subnet mask CIDR 30, you will only have two available IP address, which is 200.1 and also 200.2. So the next thing is the static IP address for the server will be 200.3, and the port address translation will be translated into the public IP address for interface S001 of R3. So this is the objective of the lab. So in this lab, I will break down the video into three parts, which is the first part is to update IP addressing and static routing for network connectivity. Second part, I will configure dynamic NUT with part, and also static NUT. And the last part, which is part 3, is I will configure the extended ACL for public connection to server. So on the first part, what you have to do is you have to remove IP address for all. For serial 0R1, serial 0 ISP, and also serial 01 for R3. The reason being is because now for interface S00, we will implement CIDR 28. So the range of the IP address now is from 200.1 until 200.14. So however, because when you change the IP address from 200.1 to 200.14 using the CIDR 28, it will be overlapped with the network of 200.4. So basically, you need to also change the IP addressing for ISP and R3 to avoid the overlapping of IP address. So now let us change it. So first of all, you need to make sure that the network connectivity between the PC0 or PC1 is working. So I put ping 172.16.1.1 to 6 which is the IP address of PC2. So now it's working. So let us do some changes. So on R1, T interface as so we remove the IP address for all serial interface for on all routers. For ISP, you need to remove the IP address for both S00 and S01. So we will start giving the IP address for each interface. For R1 interface S00, the IP address is 200.200.200.1, and we change the subnet mask to 240. You do not have to put no shut because we did not deactivate the interface previous configuration. Now we start configuring for the next network. So because we have, as I said previously, for CIDR 240, so the range of IP address is 200.1 until 200.14. So the next network for ISP R3 connection will be 200.200.200.18. Side 30. Because for the ISP we use the second usable address, has the reason why the IP address is .18. For the R3, the IP address is 200.200.200.17 with CIDR of 30. So now we are done with the configuration. So I'll try to ping. So the anticipated outcome is the ping will not be successful. The reason why is because when you change, now we already changed the network here. So here we change the CIDR. So the reason why it's not working, because you've already changed the network address to 200.16 here, but in the initial configuration, when I put do show run, you can see that here the configuration of the static root is based on different exit next hop address and also different remote network address, which we refer to the previous configuration in the DHCP lab. So in order to make the network activity runs again, so what you have to do is we need to remove this configuration and to simply change it into a default root. So what I want you to do is copy all of this, go to the notepad, and then we need to remove all of this configuration. And then go to R3, make sure you are in global configuration mode, paste the configuration, okay, and add the default route using the exit interface of R3. The reason why I'm using the exit interface instead of NextHop IP interface, NextHop interface IP address is because I do not want to change the configuration again if there is a changes in the IP addressing on the routers, NextHop routers. So basically, by using as interface, we and default route, we will have a constant configuration throughout the network connectivity. So let us test again and see whether the network connectivity is okay now. So the network connectivity is okay now. So we in the next part, we are ready to configure network address translation configuration on the network topology.